5 things you need to know about owning a private well. All right, well, we know that there's about 25 million people in America who get their water from a private well. So what we're going to do is talk about the 5 things that you need to know about owning a private well. But before we get started, congratulations. You own a natural precious resource. It's like, wow, you're like as close to off-grid as possible. You're not counting on the government to make your water clean. It's your responsibility, right? So it is your responsibility to maintain the well and understand the well. But today we're going to talk about 5 things that you need to know when you own a house with well water. Now, not only is it congratulations, but I want to make sure that you know something. You are the water authority for your family. Nobody's going to knock on your door and say, hey, test your water, right? In fact, most people that I've met out of 25 years in this business, most people tell me when I meet them on well water, they go, oh, the water's perfect. I bought it, and when I bought the house, it was tested, everything's fine. Okay, well, we're going to teach you about water testing today so that you don't just believe what they say, because that's not true. We want to be able to understand aquifers, how they work, and all that kind of good stuff. So we're going to get into that. Now, if you like this video, please do me a favor, share it with someone else that's on a well, because I can tell you that there's so much misinformation out there that it would be really helpful if you shared that or click like or pass this on. You can comment below. We'd love to be able to hear from you. So first and foremost, we want to tell you that your job is to test the water, right? The EPA, the Department of Public Health, they all say it's your job to test the water. How often? At least once a year. Yeah, people think that's crazy. Yeah, I've met people that said, I've been living on this water well for 20 years. I've never tested it because when I bought the house, the broker told me the water was safe. The broker's a salesperson, hello? So we want to make sure that you know that both of these entities tell you to do that. Why? It's because the aquifers are always changing. This is a cross-cut of the earth. Yes, it's my drawing, so I'm sure you guys love it. So first of all, we have the grass. We have the well casing. We have a hole in the ground that goes all the way down to a layer of bedrock. The bedrock is because glaciers came down during the ice age, and when they retracted a million years ago, we have dirt and soil, dirt and soil, dirt and soil, and now we have your house built on top of all that dirt and soil. But what's underneath you, whether it's 20 feet, 50 feet, 100 feet, 200 feet, 500 feet, you have this aquifer, and what you've done is you've drilled a hole into the earth and you've accessed that aquifer because it's porous. That's why almost everyone on well water has a water softener, right? We know that the rock has attached itself to the water droplet, and so you need a water softener to remove that rock. And if you don't, then you have white film all over everything. Your hair is all, frizzly, and you got a lot of dry, itchy skin. Your dishes look white and filmy. So that's why Angel Water's in business. We help people get rid of that. But you need to understand that you are where your water's coming from. It's coming from out of the ground. And what you have is you have a pump in the earth that pushes the water in a pipe into what's called a pressure tank. So that pressure tank is what balances the water. And actually then half of that, by the way, is air. Then there's a rubber bladder. And then it pushes the water through water filter equipment maybe and off to your home. Now, why do we want to test the water? Well, the EPA knows that this water table is ever changing. Today, it can be different than it was yesterday. Why? Because of heavy rainfall. Maybe you live by a lake or a river, and that water cross-contaminates that. Maybe your septic system, the sewage that went outside, that eventually gets back into the aquifer, which, by the way, that reminds me to tell you, be careful with all the chemicals you use inside your house, because what you put down your drain today can show up in your water tomorrow. So it's really important that you understand that. So that's why the Department of Health says test your water. Plus, think about it, fertilizers, local industry, maybe old gas stations that had gas tanks underground. Maybe they're leaching into the water. I've seen a variety of things in Chicagoland, whether it's vinyl chloride in Wakanda or McHenry, to just tons of different contaminants that get into the water. So it is your job to test the water at least once a year. The EPA, if you check out our link below, we're going to give you an EPA document that says there's like 30 things to test for. Those are the chemical-driven contaminants. Then the Department of Health says once a year, minimum, you want to check for bacterial-driven contaminants. That's coliform, E. coli. You also want to check for, lead and, so those are 3 things that they're going to tell you to test for, at least on an annual basis. Now that you understand that what you need to test for, the second thing that we need to know is the water migration. The water actually lands on the grass, migrates through the earth, and collects here. Maybe it comes from a lake and gets into that aquifer. That migration is important because you got to think about what's happening 10, 20 miles away from you. It's actually that water is percolating through the earth and then coming your way. So if you live by huge farm fields that uses heavy fertilizers, ding, 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 ding. That's why you want to test your water, okay? Now, the third thing we want to talk about is the contamination can occur. How did that occur? It is through those fertilizers. I've seen geese waste get into lakes. Then guess what? That lake is deep and it's close to the aquifer. The next thing you know, that dirty water with that geese waste gets into the aquifer, and beautiful homes right by a lake or a river, guess what? They've got contamination. So third point here is always check for that contamination. By the way, something that you can do as a visual indicator, this is not proof that you have it, take the lid off the back of the toilet. We're going to show you an image here. Take the lid off the back of the toilet. If you see bubbling action in that reservoir, that's an indicator of coliform bacteria. I've seen that when there's bubbling there, the test is sometimes positive. Again, I want to be very clear. The EPA says only get your water tested by an EPA certified testing center. I totally agree with them on that. You don't want to trust a salesperson. You want to trust someone, an independent authority, to make sure that the water is safe to drink. Fourth, let's understand this pumping situation. The pump pushes the water up into this pressure tank. Again, half of that is air, half of that is water. You're looking at the pressure gauge, which reads from 0 to like 120. You want to see that it turns on around 40 and turns off at 60. And this should be a very slow process. Like when you're using water in the house, it literally should just go down really, really, really slow. If it goes down off and on, that's a really big problem. Contact your well company. That tells us that your pressure tank is broken, and you don't want this pump to turn off and on in the aquifer, because what it will do is agitate the aquifer and you'll get sand in your house, and that's a big problem. I've dealt with it many times, so please check that every year. I do recommend getting a certified, from this point backwards, it should be a licensed well driller, not a licensed plumbing company. There is a unique relationship between the pressure gauge, the pressure switch, the pressure tank, and that pump. That relationship is unique. I don't like to mess with it, even though I've had lots of clients who ask me. I refer them out to a local well driller to make sure that they check it. The last thing, the fifth point that you should know, is that should be checked every year. Why? We want to make sure that that well casing's in good shape. A lot of times a lawnmower could hit it and crack it. Next thing you know, you've got bugs or critters crawling in there. Guess what? They die and they fall into your drinking water. Very concerning. You don't want to fertilize within 30 feet of that well casing. Why? The rain hits that fertilizer, it attaches to the water drop, and look how easy it can get down into your drinking water. So that's an important thing to look at. You want to check the well cap. Make sure it's secure on there. If it's not secure, it's not bolted on there, it's easy for critters to get in there. So once a year, I recommend actually having a well company out to inspect it, but a very minimum, you as a water authority for your family, check that pressure gauge. Make sure it's going slow up and down. Make sure there's no corrosion on your pressure tank. Also inspect the well casing. Make sure it's very sturdy. There's, by the way, most of the time there's a vent on there to allow air in, so you have to just inspect that, make sure that's good. If you have further questions, you know you can always call me, 847-382-7800. We're always here to serve you. If you've liked this, please click like and or share it with your friends and family, especially with people who live on a well. And lastly, you know, my name is Drew, and I'm here to serve you.